You know that feeling when you've done everything right, worked hard, played fair, built something with your hands, and then one morning, someone tells you the thing you built doesn't matter anymore. Not because you failed, because the world moved on without asking. In 2059, a farmer named Connie Brask stood in a place that used to be a cemetery and was becoming a park. And she had to decide whether to forgive something she couldn't understand. By 2059, the three engines that remade the world, AI that thinks for us, robots that build for us, and clean fusion energy that powers everything, had been running long enough that most people had forgotten the sound of a billing statement. Food, housing, healthcare, education, all of it flowed like tap water. Always on. No meter. No bill. Connie had retired from farming at 24, like almost everyone did now, after a few years of civic service learning how civilization's plumbing actually worked. But she'd gone back to the land anyway. Not because she had to, because her family had worked that soil for 5 generations, and she wasn't about to let the 6th be the one that walked away. Then an algorithm looked at her land, really looked at it, and concluded that the soil was better suited as a carbon restoration corridor than a working farm. The math was precise. The recommendation was clear. And it felt to Connie like being told her entire life had been a rounding error. Now, nobody was forcing her. That's the thing people from the old world wouldn't understand. The foundation guaranteed her life whether she farmed or not. The 90% of existence that just worked, like gravity. The remaining 10%, the ascent, was where you pushed yourself because you chose to. Connie had always chosen the land, and now the land was choosing something else. What haunted Connie wasn't the decision. She could use her civic override, the authority any citizen had to challenge an algorithm's recommendation when it missed what mattered. She could fight it. What haunted her was the suspicion that the algorithm was right, that it knew her land better than she did, that it had seen something in the soil data, the water tables, the migration patterns, that 5 generations of Brasks had never noticed. Her grandmother's grave was in this cemetery, the one being turned into a park. The algorithm had mapped the whole county, living and dead, topsoil and bedrock, and decided that the bones and the earth and the future all pointed the same direction, toward restoration, away from what Connie had always called home. She sat with her grandmother's old reading glasses, one lens gone, cracked out years ago, and looked through the empty frame. It was a stupid habit, but her grandmother used to say, you see more clearly through the broken side, the side that doesn't pretend to show you everything. And sitting there, Connie realized the question wasn't whether to forgive the algorithm. You can't forgive something that doesn't know it hurt you. The question was whether she could forgive the land itself for being something other than what she needed it to be, for having its own story, one that didn't end with her. She didn't file the override. She let the corridor go through. But she asked for one thing, that her grandmother's headstone stay where it was, worked into the new park's design. A monument to someone who'd fed people from this earth. The system said yes. It always said yes to things like that. Algorithms are terrible at understanding grief, but they're surprisingly good at making room for it when you ask. Maybe forgiveness doesn't require understanding. Maybe it just requires letting go of the idea that everything was supposed to stay the way you needed it. Connie's grandmother would have understood that. She'd buried 3 children and still planted tomatoes every spring. Some things you do not because they'll last, but because the doing is the point. That's a world where the hardest question isn't how to survive. It's how to let go of the version of yourself that survival required. That's the world Unscarcity imagines. Not a place without loss, but a place where loss doesn't have to destroy you. If Connie's story makes you wonder what else changes when scarcity disappears, the book goes deep. 20 hours of the author reading every chapter, an AI that's read the whole thing and will argue with you about it, and 112 research articles behind the ideas. Start at unscarcity.ai.